I'm meteorologist John Dawson. This is the Fox 26 YouTube tropical update. Thanks for making the journey over to YouTube and tracking us down. Did you use the QR code to get here, or did you just have to kind of search and find the Fox 26 channel? Maybe you're already subscribing. Glad you're here. Glad you're checking in on the tropics. And we're going to be talking about a lot of lack of activity that we've seen for the month of August. We're this close to being done with August. We've got several more hours left, but as of now, we have not had a named storm in the month of August, and that's kind of it's very rare, to be honest, to have that happen, to not see that. We would typically, if it was an average year, we would have our fourth named storm that would be taking place in the mid portions of the month. So really, we began our year pretty normal when we had 3 storms before August. Well, actually, remember, Colin was over with on July 2nd, so we did have quite a bit of a stretch where things have been quiet most of July, and then again all of August we have not had a named storm. Eventually, I think in September we'll get to Danielle, but we're just not quite there yet. And when I was watching the news this morning, checking in with Chief Meteorologist Mike Itzkovitz, he had this graphic, and it was very interesting, and it's one of those that we're not trying to really scare anybody, but we're also wanting to just kind of remind everybody a quiet August doesn't mean a quiet September necessarily. And for us here in Houston, we very much know about that. And I'm sure there might be a handful of you out there that remember Houston in 1961 when we had a hurricane that came into the area. And so we'll definitely sort of be able to remind everybody of that. Again, no guarantees that this is what's going to happen with September 2022, but this has happened, and we'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit. There was no tropical storms, no named storms in the month of August. There were a few early on in the year of the season. Then we get a little bit further into it, and we got to the part in the beginning of September. We had Hurricane Carla, and I know if you've kind of kept up with the history of storms that have come to the Houston area, Carla is one of the ones that really made a big impact. It didn't make landfall in Galveston necessarily. It was down further along the coast where it made its landfall, but we definitely felt the impacts of this very powerful storm back in 1961, particularly that very, very rare F4 tornado that hit Galveston Island and again created a lot of damage. So the hurricane itself didn't hit, but an F4 tornado is going to be just as crazy and as impactful for sure. So just a reminder that the quiet August doesn't mean for sure that we're going to have a quiet September. 1961 definitely reminds us of that. So getting back to that quiet stretch that we've had since July 3rd, because Colin was on July 2nd, this is the first time that we've ever gone, since 1941, that we've gone that long without having a named storm all the way through August the 30th. And again, looks like we're going to be able to make it through the 31st. Although these areas that we've got circled here on the map are definitely areas that are being watched by the National Hurricane Center and definitely have the potential to be developing, but it looks like it's going to need a few more hours. At least we'll get through August, and then into September before that happens. Now, we kind of break up the history of hurricanes into that pre-satellite era and then the after satellites, because once we have satellites, we're able to see and analyze so much more of what's happening out in the Atlantic. We have the history books go back much before the satellites have been around. So kind of using 1950s sort of as the beginning of that satellite era. I know it's probably a little bit further down the line before that really becomes effective and used quite a bit more to track hurricanes, but that's kind of what we use to kind of break things up a little bit. There's only been 2 Augusts since 1950 in which there have been no named storms. We've talked about the first one already, 1961, and then also in 1997. So it will have been since 1997 that we haven't seen one, assuming that we make it through the next couple of hours. This is the tropical wave that we're kind of watching perhaps the most closely, because it's sort of the one that's going to be headed closest to the U.S. It doesn't look like it's going to really make a strong impact on the East Coast, but it is the one again that is getting a little bit more attention. Not going to head over into the Caribbean either. It's going to make its way up into the Atlantic. So here's the official sort of areas of interest as noted by the National Hurricane Center as of this evening here at on August the 31st. This tropical wave off the coast of Africa, 50% chance of development over the next 5 days. I've talked a little bit about this one that we were looking at right now that we're looking to develop. It's an 80% chance. So chances are pretty good that this will become a named system. And while we might say, oh, it's probably going to be Danielle, not so fast, because there's one other area, and this is much further to the north and much more centrally located in the Atlantic, that also has high chances. As a matter of fact, higher chances in the short term, but equal in the long term. So in the next 2 days, the Hurricane Center giving it a 70% chance, whereas the tropical wave down further in the south, closer to the equator, that one has a 60% chance. So from the National Hurricane Center, that's kind of what we're looking at a little bit. Let's talk about these computer models. You're going to see both of those systems developing into at least named storms, if not hurricanes, as we move through this. So watching this little blue area here helping to represent the rain that is impacting with that tropical wave as that one continues to move again pretty much towards the East Coast. We're watching the other one get even developed a little bit quicker. So this is why those probabilities are a little higher for this one that's further to the north. So maybe let's say this one is Danielle. We'll see that one might be able to get more organized quicker. But as I mentioned, it's not headed towards the U.S. It's headed away. This is the one that's kind of headed towards the U.S., but then it's going to impact a front and some other dynamics that get it pushed back out into the Atlantic, going to kind of ride that front up. But you see it does definitely become more organized as it continues to move up into the north, and so it looks like we'll have at least 2 named storms within the next 5 days in the Atlantic. Fox 26 weather app will be able to punch out all of that information to you, and you can keep up with that. Now, obviously, when they're out in the Atlantic, not impacting any land at all, that's good. We like that. But we want you to be ready for when we do see systems approaching land a little bit. So get the Fox 26 weather app downloaded onto your phone. It's going to have all the tropical information within there. You can kind of practice with it a little bit. Learn how you can turn some of that information on or off. It's very manageable for a lot of that information, and you could kind of teach yourself, learn a little bit on these storms that are way out in the Atlantic. That's where we want to see them. Then if something does become closer into the Gulf, especially here headed towards southeast Texas, if you're in the Houston area or really anywhere, I realize that it's not just Houston viewers who kind of click in here to YouTube to get the updates. But the Fox 26 weather app will also help you day to day with just the rain that's happening across your area. And you don't have to be in the Houston area to benefit from that. So get that free download. Yes, while you got your smartphone, go ahead and punch in at John Dawson, Fox 26. I'd love to connect with you on social media. Thanks for finding us today. As always, a reminder, we'll be back again tomorrow with another update right here on YouTube.